What's your biggest fail when it comes to online dating? Chatted with them a year by phone. Once we met we had nothing to talk about and it was the most awkward encounter of my life. Matched with someone on a dating website before Tinder. Got to talking. Seemed like a chill dude. Even though there were red flags, he insisted we were dating before we met and I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone. Agreed to meet up with him at a cafe by work. Organized with my receptionist. She would ring me at an allotted time and tell me I had to come back to work. So I had an out. Met with the guy for coffee. It seemed well enough. Then my girl rang me. So I told him I had to get back. His response was, "I've got my work van here. Do you want to jump in the back and have a quickie?" I noped out of there and went back to work. A couple of months later he ended up coming into my work to see my boss. I made polite small talk with him. Then when he left my boss called me into her office to ask how I knew him. Turned out he was married to my boss's niece and I dodged a ducking bullet. Update. Sorry to leave you all hanging. Boss believed me. And we never spoke of it again. I was too embarrassed to raise the subject again because I keep my private life private. And her because I assume she kept that between her and her niece. My boss was also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so not the person to duck with. Yes, I should have known better when he got possessive straight out the gate. But I was young, insecure, and lonely. It's not a crime to want to be wanted. But good lord was I a naive fool. Not being exciting or witty enough in the text game. In real life my expressions and demeanor save me, not so much online. Oh man. The first time I contacted someone, it was via the Onion personals, which were really a thing in 2005. I just made fun of the band she said she liked. I wrote something like, "My only problem is that you are into band," she replied, as she should have. "My only problem is that the only thing you offer is a criticism." I still cringe. I have a duck and I accidentally wrote dick. Met with a girl at a bar in Philadelphia on a Friday night around 6 p.m. It was fun and we drank a lot. But I noticed that she was pacing much faster than me. I had around 4 beers in the time it took her to drink 7 martinis. $15 a glass. We are getting along well and she says that she needs to use the restroom. She took her jacket and purse to the restroom. I didn't think much of it, but after an hour of sitting at the bar alone waiting I realized that I got used for a heavy pregame. The bartender kinda realized it. When I asked for the tab he shrugged and was like, "It happens mate. I took 2 drinks off your tab." Edit. "Thanks for the gold and silver." Edit 2. The guy actually said mate. Philly is a big city with a lot of individuals from other countries. Edit 3. This was 5 years ago so I don't remember the bar except for the fact it was 10 minutes walking from where I was working and had 4 stars on Yelp. It didn't emotionally scar me and I've been on many dates since. I was talking to a girl who mentioned that she was into photography and I asked her to send me some pics. She thought I was asking for nudes so she deleted and blocked me. Edit. Whoa, this blew up. I realize I worded the question poorly and I went to explain myself, but I then found she blocked me. I have 2 even worse ones so I'll tell those 2. I just didn't expect this comment to get so popular so I didn't go into too much detail. I talked to a girl who lived in a town 25 kilometers away. She was nice and pretty so I asked if she wanted to meet up and she said yes so we met up at her farm. She was a terrible conversationalist. I couldn't get her to talk about anything and when I talked about myself she seemed really bored. I was halfway though a sentence before she interrupted me to suggest going to the takeaway shop in town. We went there. Still terrible conversation. Decided to talk about my trip to London and that actually got her going. She talked for 5 minutes about how she always wanted to go to Canada as a little kid and that the next year she was finally going to get married. Honestly thought she was joking but later realized she was serious about it. The rest of the date went pretty too. We didn't watch a movie like we planned. We watched the rest of the movie she had started watching the night before. She took a bite of her burger and threw up in the toilet for 10 minutes because it was too greasy or something. She then suddenly remembered she had to go pick something up from a mate 70 kilometers away and I needed to leave immediately so I did. Had no interest in dating her after that, obviously. The next day I decided to text and ask how she was cause she mentioned going through depression recently and I didn't feel right just ignoring her after that. It's been almost 2 years since that date and I'm still waiting on the reply. And lastly, my 4th date on a dating site went horrible as well. I thought this girl was perfect and we actually spent the whole day together. When I got home we still talked and I thought it was a sure thing. 2 days later she stopped messaging me altogether and told me the day after that we need to break it off because she recently started seeing someone else and feels bad just abandoning him like that. It broke my heart but we remained friends. I asked her out again a week later and she said yes. We've been together a year and a half now. Not trying it sooner. At the end of the day, we're all just people looking to connect and share a Netflix account. She was being flirty but I just kept asking how's your day going, what are you up to and other generic questions until she stopped and never messaged me back. Using Plenty of Fish, the free dating site. It was like the Netto of dating sites. I chatted briefly with one woman before telling her I was going out for a few drinks. Next day I checked my messages and she had sent some. It started with why don't you come round to mine and get drunk together, progressing to why are you ignoring me, then to I think you're gorgeous and we will be good together, and finally don't you ducking ignore me. I sent her a message the next day to never contact me again. Not realizing how much can be lost in the absence of voice inflection and physical social cues. Putting all my eggs in one basket. Once I start a conversation with one person, I just stick with that person until I know it's not going to go anywhere. I can't deal with trying to remember stuff about 2+ people at the same time. I don't mind though if the person I'm talking to is talking to more than one person, as long as if we're on a date, they're not on the phone to them or mix us up. I met with this very attractive woman off upper middle class Tinder, Bumble. She was way hotter than me. At some point during the evening, she leans forward on her bar stool, narrows her eyes and goes, I know there was some reason I swiped right on you. Because at this point she could not remember I matched a girl who looked really cool and complimented her hair. She responded with something along the lines of I'm so glad you messaged me. Most of these guys just match and never message. I've seen almost exactly the same line before from bots. So I assumed she was a bot and said something snarky about it. She replied, upset, and then unmatched me. Finding a wonderful guy and then cancelling the date last minute because I wasn't over my ex. Joke's on me. We rematched 10 months later. He gave me it about my behavior last time and told me because of that I had to come up with an idea now. March will mark our 1-year anniversary. Dated a guy who was in a Poli-C PhD program, confirmed, who had a law degree, confirmed, but had left practice because he didn't enjoy it. Nope. Had been arrested for a federal hate crime as a neo-Nazi and was ineligible to practice. Thank God for Google. I got more matches on Tinder posing as Adolf Hitler than myself. Went on a date with a girl from Tinder one time who told me that she found children very attractive. After that I stopped mentioning that I had a child on my profile, and took down the pic of me and my daughter, and just brought it up with the girls that I felt were likely to stick around after meeting in person. Getting hundreds of matches on Tinder but not going on a single date with someone I initially met from the app. Edit. I am a male. I've set up many dates, but get ghosted the day of. Agreeing to meet someone with a topless profile pic. My god, he was vain. Her husband. You have no idea how many neglected wives are out there online and they love to omit the fact that they have husbands. Watch out for the MILFs. She'll break your heart and her husband will break your neck. Making a profile then never signing back in even when I get an email notification that someone's interested. Not capitalizing on those hot singles in my area. Most of the fails are typical not super hot guy problems. Almost no matches or messages. Depending on the site. The biggest fail in my ex. We spent 5.5 years together. I was super supportive of her, getting her on her feet in life, covering expenses for the first 2 years until she stabilized, helped her find her first job, helped her through college, helped her get her first job after college, helped her with her first job after college. But then the moment I start struggling with money finding a job, we moved across the country for the one she got. She kicks me out. I mean, I was struggling for a while, about a year, A month after she kicked me out, I managed to land a job. Good times. For the last 5 years, my biggest Tinder fail was when people would look at my profile and see that I am Asian and then not read the very first thing that I've written, which is that I'm 5 minutes and 10 seconds 1.77 m. And then they would be shocked when I show up at or above eye level. One person had the gall to tell me he had a great time, but I really thought you were more, petite, while gesturing at my figure and then compacting it. That is no longer the worst thing to come out of Tinder. A few months ago I went on a date with a self-proclaimed communist. He said this loudly, in a Chinese restaurant. When asked what kind of communist philosophy he was drawn by, he replied, normal communism. Not North Korea communism, and all I could think of was how most communist countries were totalitarian regimes who starved their people, and wondered if this is what he meant by normal. He proceeded to douse the stir fry we ordered with chili oil instead of partitioning off a serving for himself and seasoning that. It stood out to me as a particularly classless cherry on top of a heaping it sundae. Edit. Here's the rest of the it sundae. 1. His profile says 5 feet 9. Left-wing political activist. Works for FDNY. Has picture of him in firefighting gear, so the implication is that he's a firefighter. A left-wing firefighter. Interesting. Reality is that he is a kitchen inspector. Is maybe 5 feet 7. And proclaims to be a communist despite not knowing jacket about it. So he's at best he likes to exaggerate, but realistically he's a liar and kinda dumb. We're off to a good start. 2. He shows up drunk. Not tipsy. Drunk. I smelled the vodka on him. 3. We go to a soup dumpling restaurant in Queens. Proceeds to be extremely loud in the following, declaring himself a communist, whistling for the waitress, making fun of an older gentleman for looking like he stepped out of the 70s, and recalling his past experience as a line cook for Xi'an's famous foods. The last item isn't so much an issue, but somehow it made him an expert on Chinese cuisine. More so than me, someone of Chinese heritage. All the aunties and uncles in the restaurant shot me looks that roughly translate to, "Why have you brought us trash in here?" 4. Due to his superior knowledge of Chinese cuisine, he proceeds to order for me. Now in soup dumpling restaurants, there's typically at least 2 variants, one that is purely land animal, pork, beef, sometimes lamb, and another that is surf and turf, the aforementioned mixed with shrimp, crab, sometimes lobster. Most Chinese people I know will go for the latter since it's hella tasty. I order my own set of pork and crab supplings and he tells the waitress no, she'll just have the pork. My mind breaks a little. I'm grasping at any reason for this insane indiscretion. Is he allergic? Did he have a bad experience with the crab option previously? When then dumplings finally come, I ask him and he answers, "I hate the taste of seafood, but they're my own dumplings." Yeah, well, I didn't taste it when we're making out later. 5. Told me I've never had real tea, lol. 6. His ruse for trying to get me back to his apartment was for me to taste his homemade kombucha. I was 18. Just registered to Tinder because I wanted to get my first girlfriend and stuff. Then I match with this beautiful girl from Switzerland. She is staying in the city for 2 days and want to meet at her hotel to have a fun time during the afternoon. My 18 years old self didn't see anything fishy in that. So 30 minutes later I'm at her fancy hotel waiting for her to come down to pick me up. But she says she is waiting for her mom to leave. So I wait for about 20 minutes and I see an old man checking out of his window. So I text the girl that there was a creepy old man being afraid that I was going to rob the hotel or something, haha. 10 minutes later she tells me that another dude is arriving and that she invited him before me but he couldn't come, so she invited me after. So we would have to decide between the 2 of us who would get the girl. I saw the guy arriving, a handsome looking, mid-20 guy, and so I started to explain the situation to him and that we should just play rock paper scissors or something and not think too much about it. And he accepted, hahaha. I was so surprised. He lost. I won and left without a word. The girl then tells me that in the end her mom isn't leaving so we cannot meet. I text her it's okay and wish her a good end of holidays and that maybe we will meet in Switzerland one day, who knows. 20 minutes later I receive a text from the girl telling me that in fact she was a dude. The old dude that I saw looking out of his window. He was a retired man with no real hobby and had fun doing this kind of thing and watching sometimes dudes even fighting to get to duck his fake profile. He never told anyone but me because I didn't insult him and I resolved the problem with the other guy pretty simply so he knew that I wouldn't get mad at him if he told me. After that I talked to him for an hour about how he should find another hobby like gaming, reading or something, and after that we never talked again. I felt really sad for him in the end because he didn't have any family or friends, but all this was really ducked up. Since then I never tried to meet an online girl directly at her hotel IA. Getting a free trial of Tinder Gold on an account I'd had for at least 8 months in 3 main geographic locations, and proceeding to swipe right on every single one of the guys that had liked me, all 2,500 of them. Nothing other than anecdotes and thousands of messages has come of it yet. Oh, also, I did this at 9 PM the night before a huge college math exam. Procrastination at its finest. When I connected Spotify my Bumble profile, and unbeknownst to me, 3 of my top 10 artists were the Wiggles, High Five and Blippi. Pretty sure I missed a few connections because of that. I end up befriending the girls I meet instead of dating them. To me a girlfriend should be a friend too, but that doesn't work for most people, so I just have a lot of friends now. Which is all cool until you end up crushing after one of them who doesn't feel the same way about you. I thought I had a pretty sick pickup line, which was a "Sayari so cute you make a baby deal look like a pile of it." Needless to say, I'm still single. My only match was a friend how made an female account, so I get a match. Guys keep wanting to come over to hang out. I live alone, not comfortable having someone I never met over. It's a major turn off for me, therefore conversation ceases there. I tried Tinder, stopped when it was searching so wide it started showing me women in neighboring countries. Didn't get a single match. I went on a Tinder date with a chick one time and her profile gave off no red flags, and the way she messaged and texted also gave off no red flags. I get to the bar and she looks a little different, but I'll let it slide. She begins to tell me she forgot to take her bipolar meds so she shouldn't drink too much, then proceeds to have 5 Long Islands by the end of the night. She tells me she wants to come back to my place, so we go back, watch a little TV, and her phone rings. She silences it. I didn't think too much of it, then it rings again and again. I finally ask and she says that's my old man. He couldn't hold me down. I tell her okay, well I'm not one to get between people, and I offer to buy her an Uber home. She whines for a while, but I was done with her on this date. The Uber eventually pulls up and I walk her outside, and what a coincidence. Here comes her old man. The guy comes at me trying to get in my face and she starts yelling at him, calling him a psycho for tracking her phone. They start arguing pretty bad and I slowly start backing away. Within 5 minutes, they were making out in the back of the Uber, which BTW I got charged $15 for making him wait, and he eventually told the Uber to go. He was gonna drive her home, and there was that. I went back inside, hit my bong and watched Rick and Morty with my cat. Actually met a smart tall blonde girl on FB, was smooth as hell and got her to go out with me. She was an hour late to our date but showed up. Unfortunately I got blackout drunk during that hour. Also lost the friend whose comment I met her on. Met an art student off Tinder and we went down to the river to smoke weed late one night. I was having a really good time and she was very sweet, funny, and chill up until this happened. We're sitting on a hill by a small road when a cop rolls by slowly. I start putting the weed away and that's when this 4'11", glasses wearing, dyed hair having weeaboo art student decides it's the perfect time to shout, "Duck the police." What? I ask wide-eyed and frantic. Yeah, all cops are pigs. Again, yelling. Not screaming or anything, but she's loud enough and he's close enough to hear us if he had his window down, which I guess he did because he shined his flashlight on us. What the duck are you trying to do? I ask, literally in a ducking panic. Did you know 40% of cops beat their wives? No? Yeah dude. Cops are trash. I'm an anarcho communist. Cops are completely unnecessary. TL. DR anarcho communist art student tries to kamikaze our lives. Agreeing to meet up with a guy whose profile said he was in prison for several years for a non-violent felony. High school me was stupid. I tried Tinder for a while. After a month or so I contacted and was talking with this girl and things seemed to be going well. We had similar interests in music and movies, similar sense of humor, etc. Eventually we were talking about hobbies and I casually mentioned I played Magic the Gathering. Immediately unliked. Like. She had time to receive the message. Click the menu and hit unlike. That fast. Only met up with one from all the matches I had. He looked like Orlando Bloom. Got so nervous although he was very nice to me. Turned out he just wanted 6 and I left haha. Edit. I was still a virgin and scared of losing it to someone who doesn't care about me. Edit. I don't mind how people lose their virginity, it's their choice. 6 has a different meaning for everyone. Assuming that the stupid OkCupid match percentages meant anything, I did a bunch of the questions and, being a person who believes in numbers and statistics, mostly attempted to chat up guys who were, apparently, 80-90% similar to me. 50 plus messages over a 8-month period and 3 unsuccessful dates, but it worked out in the end. I reached the Gene Goodall observing primate behavior level of not giving a duck. Saw a decently attractive man around my age. Also, so many people try to get with you despite being 20 plus years older, with an interesting profile and a 70% match, and sent a question about his work. We're married now. Not having enough money to go on dates. Not sure if it counts as a fail, but meeting up with guys, just to eventually realize I'm lesbian. I have no idea how to talk to people. One time I chatted with an actuary, risk manager, but I thought he was an aviary, a giant bird cage, so he blocked me. I was 20. We met online, dated for several years. We had our issues, but we always worked them out. On Christmas morning, yesterday, she was in a foul mood. Told me to take the presents she bought me and to leave her house. Didn't even want to open the presents I got her, including a diamond engagement ring. It still hurts this morning. Talked with a guy a lot over text for a long time. Getting pretty close. One time I was doing shopping with a friend and we decided we would go see the last Star Wars movie before heading back to her place to get ready for a party. Sent him a text asking if he'd like to join us for the movie. I didn't realize he had to catch a train. Came in late. Smelled terribly. Kept trying to talk to me during the movie. I hate that. Tried to convince my friend to leave us for the night but I was supposed to sleep at her place and he didn't live in the city. I didn't want to be left alone with him because he gave me creepy vibes. After that I told him I didn't want to keep in touch. And kept sending me drunk texts even after months of no contact saying I was the move of his life. Ended up calling me a bitch and then apologizing by making a website with a letter on it. I blocked his number. Girl sends one word message hi. Okay. It's not easy starting a conversation. So no problem. I reply with a medium length message. I comment about some interesting hobby mentioned in her profile and ask for more details. I tell her about my day. Some other random stuff. Overall a good effort. The next day she replies, hi, how are you? She was pretty. I have a very dry and sarcastic sense of humor that works great when I can use vocal inflection and body language. But a lot of the time I just seem like a prick if it's read over text. I went on a date with a girl and 2 weeks later she died of acute pancreatitis. I'm convinced it's because she went on a date with me. I always made my bio too long. I really took the time to type it up even after realizing no one read them. I had more fun making the bio and answering the questions than using the site for what it was for. OkCupid. Also couldn't stand one word answers and ended up writing paragraphs. I'm really bad at talking to people through text I guess. Neosus copywriting. Not just online, but with dating in general. I always get ghosted or dropped for the same thing. Being honest and having a past. I get that red flags are a sign to be careful around a person. But it seems more like a point to cut off all contact immediately. A divorce, or health issues seem to be a good enough reason to never talk to a person again for too many people. The back of my baseball card stats are pretty itty, but that is just some of what I've been through. None of that is who I am as a person. But I don't feel like I ever get far enough along for anyone to have actually met me. Or maybe I really do just suck that much. Sending too many texts and scaring them away. I now know how annoying it can be. Time zone differences don't mean you have to send a million messages at a time. They could be working, or sleeping, or just out with friends. Never tried it and probably never will. I'm fine with being alone forever lol. The guy had a foot fetish and was a depressed control freak.